Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to an episode of the Daily Red for Anfield Index. It is Saturday, the 23rd of August. It is 2 days until the Alexander Isak derby, isn't it, where we take on Newcastle at St James's Park. And I don't know about you, it's always just a little bit weird when football's on a Monday. I don't mind Monday night and when it arrives under the lights, and this one will be an absolute bear pit, but might just be me. Monday football never quite feels right to me when it's your team playing anyway. It's one of those ones you want another team to be involved in, but hey ho, it is what it is. I'm your host, Dave Davis, coming to you from pretty humid, muggy Edinburgh still. But nice, the sun just actually popped out from behind the clouds. But fingers crossed, wherever you are in the world, you are enjoying it and it is nice weather. But let's get into it, people. What are the latest Liverpool headlines? What are the things going on across everything Liverpool? Well, let's start with official business, first of all. Let's pop that on the screen. So there is a deal done. Not maybe the one people want, shall we say. Not maybe the one people are expecting. But Lewis Koumas joins Birmingham on loan for 25-26. Now, the Welsh youngster, son of Jason Koumas, remember he used to play for Tranmere and West Brom. He's a Welsh international, Lewis Koumas, as well now, isn't he? So he was on loan last season at Stoke City, came back, has signed a new deal. There was a lot of suggestions he was off to Wrexham, Sheffield United were in the mix, but an ambitious Birmingham, who were under some random billionaire, of course, but Tom Brady stewardship, they have managed to get that deal done. And of course, did score his Liverpool debut, didn't he? Do you remember that one in the FA Cup where he scores the opener and then Jadon Danns gets two as well? So he has scored for the senior side. Was on the bench for that famous Carabao Cup against Chelsea as well. Do you remember the billionaire bottle jobs? So good luck to him in that move. So that's the first bit of official business on the board for you. Second bit of official site stuff is Alisson. Now, this isn't the only interview Alisson's done, and we'll talk about a few interviews here, but this is from the official site. So, as the strapline says there, we want to keep fighting for titles and playing at a really high level. All the hallmarks, of course, it's Ali, of a leadership thing. And when I'm talking about a leadership thing, it's kind of pinging into my head there, and I tweeted this earlier. Arne Slot has said to us in pre-season that, and this is a good few weeks ago now, he decided on his vice captain. He just hadn't told them and the squad. But correct me if I'm wrong, and please do in the chat panel, feel free to do it. I don't think we've had the announcement of who is the vice captain. And many people replied to that tweet saying, of course, it'll be Salah, Maka, Alisson came into the mix as well. But, and please do correct me on this if I am wrong, we haven't seen that at all, have we? But every part of the leadership group, what did Alisson say at this interview? I mean, there's some great things, but where's the bit I really wanted to find? There we go, because it's talking about us. We want to keep fighting for titles. We want to keep playing at a really good level, really high level. And that is what Arne can make us do during this time. It's really important for me. And he is in this kind of elite ending, as I want to call it, period, isn't he? We've got Alisson, we've got Van Dijk, and we've got Salah for a limited time. Van Dijk and Salah obviously signed those 2 years extensions. Absolutely brilliant. We were delighted we were made up with them. Alisson, 2 years left on the deal. Although, again, you do wonder after he's done the World Cup in the summer, what will happen. But as he's talking about it then, fighting for titles, with Alisson, with Van Dijk and with Salah, they're three of our elite players. It's important to say that. But it's a win now thing. And that is, I think, what many of us are reflecting when we're looking at the business that should happen, could happen within the transfer window that's left. It's a win now. He also talks about the supporters, about Newcastle. So if you do get a few minutes, I would say well worth a read of the interview. But it's not the only place Alisson's been speaking when we're talking about interviews. Look at that handsome bastard. Look at those beards. Look at the different looks. $1 million, whichever way you dress it up. Why have I got this on the screen? Because he did Men in Blazers. So only 9 minutes, but look at the topics. He talks about his legacy. He talks about working with Arne Slot as well, which is brilliant. The goalkeeper mentality, which is actually my favourite section out of all of it. Talks about his teammates, Van Dijk, Salah, and Liverpool's success. And I love the bit when he's calling out these three, especially the bit with Mo, where he talks about how they've got an interconnectivity. And when he talked about this, and I think about those two, I don't know. There's two goals I think about when I hear Alisson and Salah together. I think about the 1-0 win against City in that horrendous season. Do you remember where he captured it from De Bruyne, pings Mo on the break, who absolutely does Cancelo on the turn, Pep falls to his knees, 1-0. That's one of the goals I think about. But it's probably trumped by that 2-0 when we beat United at Anfield, where Alisson slips, pinging him in on the break. Mo goes through, he holds off. I couldn't even remember, who cares, a United player, and slots it to make it 2-0. The top comes off. Do you remember that one? The one where you knew there was that moment we'd won the title. So love that section as well. Life beyond football is quite interesting. All the clue I'll give you, I suspect Alisson is going to be very fat in 3 years' time, but very happy at the same time. A bit around, which is also funny, about his facial hair, which, to quote him, talks about the moon. So genuinely, if you have got a bit of time today, you got a bit of reading on Alisson and the Men in Blazers one, which is absolutely brilliant, the pair of them. No two ways about it. Now, this boy isn't even our player, but Marc Guehi, and of course we're going to talk about Marc Guehi with everything that's going on a little bit, does do an interview for the BBC with Kelly Summers. And I've got to be honest on this, does come across as just a really nice, humble guy, which you kind of expect from everything we've heard, everything we've seen, but just comes across as just a really nice, decent guy. And of course, you can watch this, but interesting, says, I want to play till I'm 40. I'm not sure how long a contract we'd give him. That is a different story. But there's a bit of a teaser line in various things. This is probably the one I like more than anything. Look at this. Are you a sociable person? Asked the interviewer. Yes, but I don't have many friends. All my friends are either in different countries or live in Manchester or Liverpool, so it's hard to connect. I didn't expect that, I'll be honest, because a player that's came through Chelsea's academy, and again, someone can correct me in the chat panel if I'm wrong on this, all his friends are in Liverpool or Manchester. Interesting, that. Marc Guehi, who apparently wants to come to Liverpool, and we'll talk about it a bit more. Where do all Liverpool footballers live? Just a thought, anyway. And how would your friends describe you? Childish. Actually, but honestly, if you do find a few minutes, those are 3 interviews worth calling out. Yeah. Alisson, written or on video, and Marc Guehi at the same time, which I think you can watch it and read it, but plenty there to get stuck into. What have we got on AI for you as well? What is the AI content? I'll take a look at some of these articles. I see Mo Salah winning another award after a record-breaking season. I mean, we saw that, didn't we? 3-time PFA Player of the Year. That's a new record for a start. But it's an interesting article. I won't give too much away. The sort of scores he got, or just the stats from last season, basically, he demolished everyone, in short. Absolutely demolished everyone. There's other bits about Liverpool missing out on a 35 million player, urged to snub someone, the Lewis Koumas story that we've talked about, and a young Brazilian forward who, I'll be honest, I've never heard of. But let's get into these. The first one is about Marc Guehi. For all the good we talked, and his friends might be in Manchester and Liverpool. Then if his future is, but I really hope it is. We just seem to be at almost a a stasis right now, don't we, with Marc Guehi? We saw the row, well, not row, that's too strong, but different thoughts, let's call it that, of Steve Parish and Oliver Glasner. One wants to keep him, one saying this is the reality, we've got to sell. And usually you're hoping it's the owner who wins. We've seen the various reports of Liverpool have 35 million in mind, Palace have 45 million in mind. I still can't get away from this, just meet in the middle. But Liverpool seem to be really digging in on this a lot. And also, as this article alludes to, because the prospect of a free and all the different bits, the risks of delaying a deal. And even with that, I know people similar to me will be thinking, well, Frimpong's injured, another defender in would be helpful, because then Gomez could be classed just as a right back right now. All the games coming up. And actually, even against Arsenal, just having Guehi as an option, even playing a sort of a back three or a version of that, I get all the positives would be there. If it was my choice, I would do it right now. I do get the feeling, though, being completely honest, people, this one could just go down to deadline day. I generally get the feeling with actually a few deals, if we're going to do any, we're going to do a few, I'm pretty certain on that. It might be a yellow tie job for me and Trev, as we talked about on the transfer show last night. We'll have to see. But honestly, if I had my chance, I would just do it. 40 million quid. But we'll see what develops with Marc Guehi. So that was the first real story from AI there. The second one, which I know is the headline here, Liverpool urged to snub Real Madrid forward in favour of £35 million star. So his relationship with Real Madrid, and actually the quotes were attributed to Steve McManaman. So he actually said these in one of his Metro videos, in one of his columns there, and was asked about, obviously, the comparison between right now, Rodrygo and Cody Gakpo. And that's prevalent, of course it is, because we know Pinijahavi, Rodrygo's agent, was at Anfield on Friday night ahead of that Bournemouth game, wasn't it? So we know he's been speaking to Liverpool. We know as well at the same time, Hugo Viana there, the Manchester City sporting director. And there is, I suppose, the concern for many Reds right now that City may well sell Savinho to Spurs, which frees up a place in their squad. So that goes into the mix as well. There is a hope, though, we can still attract Rodrygo. He seems keen to leave Real Madrid. There was even reports in the Madrid press that he's told them, I want to play on the left, not on the right. Real Madrid have responded, well, you're not first choice. There's Vinicius Jr. left. Yeah, all that goes into the mix a little bit, doesn't it, at the same time? But it's this bit. Steve McManaman saying, if you ask me now, tomorrow, Cody Gakpo over Rodrygo. So we don't always get the chance to do this too often. But I think there's an important sort of direct comparison to be made here. I mean, when you look at them, and let's focus a little bit on the league, I think it's important to say, before we get into sort of big comparisons, their minutes are actually really similar. So if you look in La Liga last season, Rodrygo played 1,928 minutes. Actually, only 7 minutes left in the league. In that time, 6 goals and 5 assists, 11 goal contributions from Rodrygo. Whereas if you look at Cody Gakpo in the Premier League last season, and I scroll down to him, it might surprise you how the minutes are similar, because obviously there was a narrative that Rodrygo struggled for game time. Real Madrid struggled under Don Carlo last season before he departed. Look at that. 1935, literally 7 minutes in the league difference between them. Whereas Gakpo got 14 goal contributions, so 3 goal contributions between them. And it's important to say, in a season where it was easily Cody Gakpo's best at Liverpool so far by a mile, and Rodrygo was noted to have moved positions and been struggling a bit unhappy at Real Madrid. So that's just important to note. The gulf, as I think people are assuming, isn't that big. there's a couple of other things into the mix as well. When you look at Cody Gakpo's goals, which I'll load here in a sec, 5 of them came in the Carabao. Okay, that's important to know. 5 of them came in the EFL Cup. Do you remember he blammed that hat-trick at Brighton, wasn't it? I couldn't think of the game then. So there's that. So 18 goals, which is great, and 7, a really good 25 goal contribution season from Gakpo. Let's not pretend. But 5 were in the Carabao. And if you look at Rodrygo at the same time, well, actually, he got 25 goal contributions last season as well across all competitions. The highest for him, 5 in the Champions League. 5 in the Carabao, 5 in the Champions League. I think we know which one's better that at the same time. And the reason I'm saying all this is, please, let's just be clear. This is not to criticise Cody Gakpo. I thought he had a really good season. And him and Luis Diaz dovetailed brilliantly last campaign. And that was a real strength of ours. I thought that when Gakpo wasn't doing the biz or Diaz wasn't doing the biz, vice versa, there was always a sub, an alternate option. I think that's really important to try and get that this season again. I really do. And honestly, I've seen people talk, and before I go into this a bit on FB Ref, I've seen people tweeting and talking today saying, oh, look at all those who mocked Luis Diaz's departure. Look, and they just not learned their lesson, have they? If you think about Luis Diaz last season, started the year brilliantly, didn't he? Do you remember the double against United early on? He was on fire early doors. But it was a peaks and troughs season, wasn't it? And then there was a huge period, double-digit games without a goal contribution. And he I think 6-0 did Bayern beat Red Bull, and he scores last night. And people are already into that. Luis Diaz, all these people who want him sold. No. He had 2 years left on his deal. Luis Diaz was 28 years old, and 65 million in that scenario was a good bit of business. It was not a case of everyone wanted him sold. So I don't know why those tweets are going around. I even saw the ones about Tyler Morton being praised a little bit as well. Like we missed it. No disrespect to Tyler Morton. I think he had a really good Euros, but he's not Liverpool first team level right now, is he? Honestly, after one game why people are tweeting these things, I have absolutely no idea. But here's the other things, just when you overlay Rodrygo and Cody Gakpo. Different profiles there if you see it. And I've linked them on FB Ref as both AMs there, it's important to say. Different styles, you can see that. Rodrygo's in the blue there, Gakpo's in the red. Gakpo a bit higher, obviously on the per 90s as non-penalty goals, clearances, blocks, aerials there. It's maybe more of the defensive side of the game. So if you look at that switch around there, I think one of the strengths Gakpo has is he does help and track back. I know people will say he could be more physical at times, but I think that's a fair strength to his game there. But that doesn't mean Rodrygo doesn't press, as the stats say, at the same time. Here's the thing, though. Rodrygo, especially when you look at that middle third, as in his passing, an exceptional passer. Look at that. 98th percentile for pass completion. Progressive passes received, 91st. That's a strength. And he's a carrier, isn't he? Yeah, successful progressive carries, successful take-ons, touches as well, pass completion. He does trump Gakpo. They are a different style of attacking midfielders, wingers, as it's overlaid there on FB Ref. And actually, the same way that Diaz and Gakpo were a different style, I think it's really important that in the most simplistic terms, and it is a bit crude, the way I saw it last season was a Gakpo and a Diaz together made a Sadio Mane replacement. And actually, if it is just Gakpo as the first teamer with maybe, and people will say this, Wirtz can move left on occasions, I get that. Rio and Gamoa, how many minutes? That's a different question, maybe for another day. I don't think it's as strong. I do want serious competition personally before the window closes for Cody Gakpo. The big fear about Rodrygo come in. And if he does come, I think he'd be brilliant, just to be clear. But I think the two big things we're lining up on is the wages. We said this on the transfer show. The wages he's asking for, Pinny especially, are absolutely extortionate. We have to slam those wages down, of course. The second thing is that big spectre of Manchester City, who look like they may well still sell Savinho, as Fabrizio Romano said, to Tottenham, at which point they've got a winger space available in their squad. And we know they've met with Rodrygo's reps as well. So I'd love to say it is Rodrygo, but I do think there is a big question mark there. Until Sheen saying there in the chats as well, apparently requested to be played on the left at Real. Yeah, there's various reports in the Madrid press, as we said this morning, that naturally he said don't want to play on the right necessarily all the time, want to play more on the left. But there's the spectre of Vinicius Jr. and Mbappe, who are the stars, of course, at Real Madrid. Maybe part of the reason he wants to leave. I'd love to say he's going to arrive at Liverpool. Am I convinced? Lying if I said yeah. But actually, just on that, hopefully that dispels a few myths where people say he had a terrible season, he's not the same he was, and Gakpo had his best season, which is true. Not all that different in terms of certain stats, and even with the profiles, different types of attacking midfielders, wingers. But I would love to see them sharing left wing duties. Will it happen? Who knows on that? There is literally, the time is ticking. What are we, 10 days or just under 10 days now, single digits of the window left. Speaking of Brazilians, I did mention this was a story on Anfield Index, and I'm going to be honest, when these come out and I see profiles that, and this is not being disrespectful, this kid is doing it, this is a Brazilian wonder kid, I've no doubts about it. I'm probably going to butcher his name. Seravinho Silva, although funnily enough, as a few people are referring to him as the single name like you do with Brazilians, Isaac. Sounds familiar, doesn't it, all of a sudden? But yeah, Fluminense midfielder, seen as a gem. And the reason that, and I see people tweet, oh, this kid's special. He might well be. It's not being derogatory. But the last Brazilian quote-unquote wonder kid that everyone was linked with was Vitor Reis. Do you remember when he came from Palmeiras? And it was seen as a real coup for City because we were in for him at the time, Real Madrid. Now, he's really struggled at that young age to get up to speed, hasn't he? And City, I think, have already punted him on loan to Girona, unless someone's going to correct me if I'm wrong on the chat panel, not in the first team mix. So for these types of things, of course, we like seeing Liverpool signing wonder kids and getting the best talent. But if it is this kid, do we honestly believe he's going to be, as we want now, first team ready? Yeah, I think a bit of a question mark around that. Let's put it that way. In terms of your content for Anfield Index as well, actually it's just taken a bit of time to load, but I actually had a quick scan, and in the last 24 hours, the last day, just look how much filth we served you up. Just look at this. You had Grizz and the Red Room talking about the Isaac bombshell, the latest on that and the thoughts. You had Jan Molby sharing his thoughts with Trev about Isac's statement and how he's made a mistake. You had the Red Room boys also there talking about Chiesa and other attacking options. Jan talking about how we've just got to get it done, same as we feel around Marc Guehi. You had Harry getting Chris Waugh on from The Athletic, the Newcastle correspondent, talking about Newcastle, but also previewing the game on Monday. And the last bit of the Red Room with the boys, Grizz talking there with the gents about defensive priorities, which I think are a concern for everyone. And Dave was talking about the Isaac situation. Then you had Chat G&G talking the other night about the deals and the Newcastle game. What a strapline from Jan as well at the same time. If Liverpool escapes it, James's, with anything, we've done well. Doesn't sound the most confident, does it? It's interesting to see how we feel about this one. And even just late last night, me and Trev served it up for you. We had the transfer show. We had news round, etc. all week. So look at that. In the last 24, 48 hours, you've been served up 18 different segments for YouTube. Plenty to watch. And the reason I did want to call that out, and a big thanks to everyone who watches these, contributes, all those types of things in the chat panel, gets involved, is a bit of a source of pride for us at Anfield Index. A few days ago, we did go past the 5 million views mark on YouTube. So huge thanks to everyone who watches, contributes, all those types of things. It isn't, not going to go left unsaid. It is massively appreciated by all who work at the channel, all who contribute as well. Today as well, plenty to get stuck into. Now, I am reliably informed, and fingers crossed this is true, that there will be some embargo comments from Arne Slot dropping later tonight. It's usually, I think, about 10:30 or so they come out. So fingers crossed that is the case. We'll see what Arne Slot's saying. Naturally, we're keeping an eye on games. And I tell you what, in about half an hour's time, what a doozy to start the day. City versus Spurs at the Etihad. I've no real faith that Spurs will take any points at all. Don't get me wrong, but it'd be nice if they did early doors, because when you start to look at who rivals will be, it does have a feeling City, because they're spending fortunes, will come back into the mix, especially because it looks like they're going to buy a keeper in Donnarumma. Different style, I suppose, but Edison off. And annoyingly, they may just pinch Rodrygo from us, which is annoying at the same time as well, isn't it? That target, we'll see. Arsenal play later as well against Leeds. There's plenty of Premier League games coming up, all gearing up for us. And naturally with this, time is ticking, isn't it? We are the 23rd of August. We are waiting and thinking, come on, make a move. But I do just get the impression that even when we're speaking tomorrow on this show, it's all going to run down to the deadline, people. Really get that impression now and that feeling. We know, we've gone 90% of a show without talking about Alexander Isak. And there's still the same names, isn't it? Strand Larson, Nicholas Jackson, but Visser and Keith Andrews, their manager, was saying Visser's back with the squad. So I don't know what that says there, the domino effect. Remember, the dominoes are not set to fall too well as we fancy. It's that question. Do you fancy Newcastle to do the required signings before the deadline? Me and Trev talked about that last night on the transfer show. How big is your faith in that? But Liverpool need attackers. Liverpool ideally could do with Marc Guehi through the door. I would love to be able to tell you when we join back up tomorrow on Sunday the 24th, a day before Newcastle, there was positive developments on that. Do I think there will be? Not so sure. Really not so sure there, ladies and gents. We will have to see. But there we go. Hopefully, I've given you a little bit of time before the first game of the day. It is midday. Chance to do the jobs. Chance to spend time with the family. Because on Saturday, the 23rd of August, that was another Daily Red for Anfield Index.